morning and welcome back. Calling out cancel culture. Recent polls show Americans watching the liberal trend unfold don't like what they see, and they're not alone. Our next guest says it's a concerted effort to revise history to fit the modern social justice narrative and insert works of fiction in our education system. Campus Reform's Editor-in-Chief Cabot Phillips joins me now with why he says cancel culture is distorting American history. Cabot, thanks for joining us. Explain that.
Thanks so much for having me on. Well, one of the things that we've been covering at Leadership Institute's Campus Reform is the complete change in what's being taught to our students, not just how it's being taught, but what's in the actual curriculum. And what we're seeing today is a fundamental reshaping of our education system to institutionalize indoctrination. We're now teaching people that our country is not something to be proud of, but that it's evil. We're teaching people in the curriculum that our history is something that should make them not proud of their country. And so it started by simply removing American exceptionalism from classes, because that was a victim of cancel culture, because teaching that America is great might be offensive to people because there are negative parts of our history. And moving on from there, from removing American exceptionalism, it now became simply removing history altogether that makes people uncomfortable because it doesn't fit today's narrative. And you might be asking, where are the academics that are stepping up to defend this? Where are the politicians calling out what's being taught in class and defending the integrity of our education system? They're terrified of calling it out because they know that the first sign of pushback against today's modern day left will lead to them getting called a racist, getting called a bigot, and they don't want that. So they are terrified into silence and submission. That's why they're not pushing back on this. So make no mistake about it, what's being taught in our classrooms is going to manifest itself in the polls, and we're going to see it impact our elections and the entire state of our country moving forward for generations.
Can you explain the New York Times Magazine, the 1619 Project? Can you explain what this is? Because you talk about it in your op-ed.
Well, this is a work of fiction that's masquerading as history. This is a project from the New York Times, where they are now teaching that the real founding of America was in 1619, when supposedly the first slaves were brought over here, and now they're saying that the real founding of America, the reason our country was started, was to defend and preserve slavery, which is completely not true. This project has been debunked by every leading historian on American history, but because of that, because it came from the left, because it's the New York Times, we're now giving them the power to educate our children. This is being institutionalized in the classroom. K through 12 schools around the country are now allowing the New York Times to dictate their curriculum, even though it's been completely debunked. And I think a big part of this also is because of the lack of accountability with the reshaping of our history. We've seen people, these mobs, these outrage mobs, whoever's the most upset, being able to change our history, remove statues, remove the names from things. And now we're seeing those same people, whoever is the most outraged, whoever can say that they're the most upset or that they're the most in line, the most woke, they're the ones that are able to define what is going on in our classrooms and what's being taught. And that's why you see the open embrace and acceptance of this 1619 Project in class. We've been seeing it for years on college campuses, and now it's working its way down all the way to the lower generations.
Okay. Cabot Phillips, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, 3 grandmas holding a weekly rally to support patriotism, police, and the president. All 3 women are in their 70s. They meet every Saturday to hold the American flag on Interstate 135.